So I'm really grateful for the station being here, and I'm extremely grateful for Arch for taking the chance. Because had I seen me back in 1973, I would have thrown me out and not looked twice. And Arch looked past all that. And Arch, there was something that Arch saw that he wanted to go ahead and work with it. And so, and everything that I ever achieved in radio, I got because I got my ground, I got my roots here.
First of all, I'm amazed that I was ever hired because I still have my original tape. It sounds like my vocal cords are frozen. I mean, it's just this horrible monotone and this kind of, and I wonder how did Arch ever see anything in that? If I'd have been in his shoes, I think I'd have patted the boy on the head and told him to go get a job on a farm or something, because you definitely don't want to do radio announcing.
I walked in one day and met Pat Watson, and I walked in the front door, the green tile floor that sat in front of her desk, and she looked up over her glasses and said, "What can we do for you?" And that was probably the nicest thing she ever said to me. And I told her, "Do you need anyone to work on your high school broadcast at all?"
And Arch came walking out, and it's just music to my ears. He says, "So, I understand you might be the answer to our prayers." Looking over him. Oh, me?
And I have to say that in no other job I've had have I found anybody who was quite as inspiring or as well regarded as Arch was. There have been good people, but there have also been an incredible number of jerks. And I've seen people behave in a way that would get them arrested if they did it in public.
He was a good reader of people. I mean, I can't say enough. I don't think this guy ever really beat me up about anything. It's like, again, he was always interested in his people.
Yeah, he was one of a kind. I never, in all my days in radio, I never really met another guy like him.
There's nothing worse than bosses who only point out what's wrong and never give you an attaboy. And I certainly never felt that. I felt that I was appreciated.
You're going to mess up. Don't worry about it. That's part of, you're going to go on the air and you're going to mess something up. That's going to happen. Just try not to let it happen again.
I don't think during the stretch with JMA anybody was particularly afraid, I know I wasn't, to make a mistake. We didn't like making mistakes, but we were never afraid to make a mistake. And thus, I think because when you're not afraid, then that whole creative side comes out in people. And it's what makes it kind of special. The environment for doing that anymore, I don't know that it exists. If it does, I'd love to find it. And I think that's why the memories stay so fresh in your mind.
I have a feeling that Arch was, cultivating, he was just looking for people that had some sort of an intellectual fundament, had some sort of a bottom to them.
I felt getting the best people you could get, tell them roughly what you wanted it done, and then let them go to it.
People were willing to give somebody a chance. And they knew you could contribute something, and it was great. Whatever you gave them was wonderful. You never felt like it wasn't appropriate. And that was true throughout the whole station experience.
I mean, just in a general sense, it was a great place to work. It was a fun place to work. It was a place that people took pride in what they were doing.
Mainly, I believe, it evolved from the input of this very solid, reliable staff that we had. People who were not afraid to express ideas, who had good ideas, and we could work with them. I believe the whole thing seemed to me a kind of a learning experience. I never came and said, this is what we're going to do. We just sort of said, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to give that a try.
Arch was a real different kind of manager. He was a manager in the sense that, like an Army general. He wasn't like a captain or a lieutenant. I mean, he would talk with you about some ideas, but basically it was up to you to do and you would go to him with the ideas.
We didn't have much turnover. Arch hated turnover. I recall him telling me, perhaps when I was tendering my resignation once, He said, this is the hardest part of this job, is losing people and having to find somebody else that will fill the slot. He says, I just don't like that part of the job.
Arch was great. He was like, I don't know, like right out of a fairy tale or something. He'd just kind of putter around in his cardigan sweater and, just get here and there. But he was really hands-off, unless you kind of screwed up. And then he would sort of point you back in the right direction. But it's as if he had the wisdom to just let the crazies run the asylum, he was very much in control. It was, no question Arch was the boss. But he didn't meddle. He just had his nice glasses and his gray beard and his red cardigan sweater, and he'd just putter around and make everybody feel, very at home.
My role really in this has been to be a teacher.
In radio, I met a lot of potheads and alcoholics. There's Commander Cody has a new album called Dopers, Drunks, and Everyday Losers, and it reminds me of a lot of stations I've worked at. So JMA may have given me a little bit of a unrealistic notion of what radio was like.
I think he knew he was taking a chance. He never had a woman on the air, at least not to cover a full air shift. I think he may have had some women who did news and things.
He was great. We had a good relationship. I don't know why, but we just clicked along, and he was very patient with me, extremely. Well, he's been that way all along, I think, with everybody.
He did not look at me as a difference in color. He looked at what I wanted to do and whether I was willing to put the work in to do it. Because if I was willing to do the work, he was willing to work with me on it. I didn't do it to represent anybody. I did it because it looked like it would be fun. And later on, I realized the importance of it, because Arch opened a door that, and it wasn't because he had any policy against it. Nobody had ever asked. Nobody had come and asked.